Here you see in this question, they say that women participation in natural resource management is essential for its success, right? And the reason that they are giving is awareness and empowerment of women will enhance their participation. So here, what do you think stands right? So here you see in this question, if they say that the women participation in natural resource management is essential for its success. So here you see that the reason goes very right. That the empowerment and awareness and empowerment of women will enhance their participation as well, right? So here you see both A and R are true, and R is also the correct explanation of A. All right. There are two statements. First one is the joint family system is most suitable for families engaged in agriculture. Second is with the establishment of new factories in urban areas, workers from villages move to the cities, which disintegrates the joint family. What do you think is correct? Here you see your option number 4, which is A is false, but R is true. Right? All right, great. Cancer is a non-infectious disease. Cancer impairs normal body function for a few days. Which statement is right and which statement is wrong? So here in this one, you see that cancer is of course a non-infectious disease, but if you say that it impairs our body functions for a few days, that won't be very right to say, right? Because here what happens is there is multiplication of those cells which are of course which are harmful for the body, and thereafter they kill our healthy cells, right? And there is extreme multiplication of those irregular cells, right? And those which are not fit for the body. So cancer is that, right? So here answer would be that A is true, but R is false, right? Moving ahead, the resources on which mankind is dependent are provided by various sources to the spheres. What are these essential spheres? Lithosphere, hydrosphere, solar sphere, atom sphere, or biosphere. You must have read the various spheres, right? Here your time is over. When we say that the resources on which mankind is dependent are provided by various sources to the sphere. So what are these essential spheres? So here in this options that are given to you, so you understand that everything in the Earth system can be placed into one of 4 major systems. That is land, water, air, and living things, right? And how are these? Can you find them in the question? So here the 4 subsystems are these 4 subsystems are called your spheres, right? These are your essential spheres. So here specifically they are lithosphere. Lithosphere is basically your land. Hydrosphere is your water. Biosphere is your living things, and your atmosphere is your air. So here the role of solar sphere and your solar sphere won't stands to be correct. So here the answer would be this A, B, D, and E, right? So I hope you are able to mark this answer. So here you see that they have not given you this. They have not given you this option, right? That we have that there are 4 type of essential spheres that we have discussed. That there land, water, air, and living beings. So, but here you see then in the option that they have just given you 3. So kindly do not confuse over there. Here you see that lithosphere is right. Land, hydro, water. Solar is not right. So A and B of course stands correct, right? So here you see that they do not have any of these A and B, they do not have it in it. So here you mark your E1 to your right. And here what they have done is they have done atom and sphere differently. So your answer is going to be the third one, right? All right. Which among the following items are formal means of social control? Education, police, traditional customs, law, and ideology. What are the means of social control? Kindly choose the correct answer over here. This one, when you see that what are the what following are the formal means of social control, but here you need to also understand that what are social control basically, right? And this we have not discussed in our class, but this question have been asked. So here, of course, I'll do teach you that what basically social control, right? And what are the 2 types of social controls are, because these if this sort of question have been framed, so of course you'll be able to do it very easily, right? So basically, it's a sociological term. So social control is basically a sociological term. Social control is it's a concept which refers to the rules and restriction that shapes us, that supervises or regulates our behavior, right? In an in a society. So here on any one individual, these are basically the rules and regulations which are not strictly imposed, right, in terms of the informal one. But yes, formally they are imposed on a person, which shapes them, okay, which shapes a person. So here, what society do is society make use of various means of social control, right, to shape a person, to shape its society as in, right, that these are the things which are not allowed in our society, these are things that are allowed in a society and allowed in our society. So basically, there are two types of social control. First one is your formal means of social control, and second one is your informal means of social control. This which we have there, they have already asked in the question as well, that what are the formal means of social control. So here the formal social control is that it refers to the ways in which the control over society is exercised by legitimate power. For example, your sanctions, right? Your standards. So these are your legitimate power, right? Here you see that, as I said, that there are two types of social control. First one is your informal one. Second one is your formal one. So formal is when the society codifies some social control, that this has to be done by creating some external sanctions enforced by a government or other legal body to prevent chaos or anomie in the society. However, informal is the one that occurs in the family, or occurs in the family or in your personal sphere, right? For example, it occurs as when behavior are controlled through socialization into a society and through internalization of its norm. So here, you see, for example, let's just take example of a formal social control. So here you see fine that are imposed, right? So fine are basically what? Fines are there. These are monetary penalties that are imposed on a person that would, so, or the another form of punishment that a person would serve if they violate such standards. So that these are the formal means of social control, so that a person does such a thing. So basically these are the ways to regulate a person. Whereas on the other hand, if you see the informal social control, so what does that advocates? It advocates that these are things, for example, praising someone or shaming someone. So that to either to induce or to deduce a particular sort of behavior. So basically, what is this? This is your social control. It is a form of your social control. So in your informal social control, what happens is, so basically shaming a person, praising a person, what are these? These are your informal means of social control, because there we do not have any legalized sanctions, right? To understand that what society does, it uses various types of controls, right, in the form of either, if we say like the formal ones and the informal ones, right? The formal ones can be your education, your police, and your, of course, your law. But here when we talk about the informal one, so here the informal one, we your traditional customs, your mores, right, your value systems, your beliefs, your sanctions, and all those things. So here you need to understand that formal controls such as your law, legislation, military force, police force, administrative devices, and your political, education, and economic industry. So basically these are your your informal forms of social control. Whereas the informal forms of social control are your public opinion, your sympathy, your sense of justice, norms, values, folkways. So if they ask you in your examination, are the folkways, mores, and customs, religion, morality, and some fashion and some trends. So what are these? These are basically your non-formal means of social control. So basically, the informal agencies of social controls are your folkways, mores, customs, and norms, and all these things. So these falls under your category of informal means of social control. So here with this question, you can of course make a guess that your first one, which is your education, A, B, and D correctly forms your answer. So here the last one, the fourth one, forms the answer for this, that these are the formal means of social controls. Here you can of course make a diagram like this, that for instance, for you in the on the top of it, you can write, of course, a social control, and thereafter you can bifurcate into two: formal means of social control and informal means of social control. Where informal means of social control are, it begins in the family and all those things which does not exist legitimately, right? So those are informal, right? For example, religion, your religion and your customs, your traditions, your modes, right? And so these are your informal means of social control. Whereas the formal means of social control would be your education, your law, your police. Legitimization is where there is legitimization. So here, formal and informal means of social control. All right. With this, let's just move ahead. So these are the different ways to use biomass as biomass energy. So the ways that these ways are: change to hard metal, they burn to produce ashes, they burn to produce heat and electricity, and change to gas like fuel, change to liquid like biofuel. So here you have the options over here, right? And of course, they have this option, either it is A, B, or C, C, D, and E, B, C, and D, or A, C, and D. You'll be given 25 seconds to answer this, right? Yes. So the three different ways to use biomass as your biomass as biomass energy would be this. Your first one. So for example, you over here you see that first one, that is your change to hard metal. What the biomass energy can do? It can change, of course, your it can change to hard metal. Thereafter, this this can be burned to produce ashes, and thereafter you see one, which is your burn to produce heat and electricity. So this is how your biomass energy or biomass can be used as biomass energy, right? All right. Moving ahead, let's just come to this question. So in economics, there are few basic factors of production, which are land, labor, market, capital, and enterprise. This is also known as LLKE. So these are the basic factors of production, or the mode of production over here. So land, labor, capital, and so all right. So it is for you to answer. So I'll just give you 25 seconds to answer this, and thereafter we'll discuss this. So here in this, in economics, the few basic factors of production are, if we talk about this formula of factors of production. So here we have already read this, that the factors of production are your land, labor, capital, and your LLKE, which is your enterprise. E for enterprise, okay? And K stands for, and yes, if they ask you, of course, they can, they can do this in your exam, that they might try to puzzle you by doing this, that they write capital, which is for C, right? And they might write, anyway, in economics, it is written as K only, because K stands for capital. So here that they can do that this mode of factors of production, which is M, and then there is bracket, it's F, right? Equals to LLKE, which is land, labor, capital, which is C, K, right? And enterprise, right? So here LLKE, right? So here you see which one is, it is A, B, D, and E. So second one is your right answer. Great. Moving ahead. In globalization, for small products and producers and workers' jobs are more secure. Small manufacturers have been hit hard due to severe competition. It may lead to widening of income inequality among various countries. Workers are given their fair share of benefits and expansion of unorganized sectors. So here, what do you think is the right answer? So what happens to small producers and workers when there is globalization? Or how had globalization affected these people? Kindly think. That globalization had basically, it had an effect on the small producers. How? Because globalization has hit the small producers, because they are unable to compete with the MNCs, which are your multinational companies or the big producers or the manufacturer, right? So here, several units have been shut down, rendering many workers jobless because of this globalization thing. So here in India, from the above description, it is very clear that globalization has not been quite uniform, right? So, and here you can also, of course, make a like this is quite clear over here, that globalization has, of course, over here struck the small producers, because they exist and they are unable to compete with the MNCs or the big producers or the manufacturers. So basically, with the analysis of this question, you can see that the major problems that are created by the globalization for a large number of small producers and workers are that it may lead to widening of the income inequalities, right, among various countries, right? And workers' jobs are no more secured in MNCs, and had led to the expansion of your unorganized sector, right? So these are basically your major problems that are associated with globalization, particularly for the small producers and workers. This has been the effect over here, and this has not. And of course, at the you can also see that small manufacturers have been hit hard due to these severe competition, right? That has been caused by globalization. Because before globalization, of course, there used to be no competition among them, and several units have been shut down, rendering many workers jobless. So of course, the worker jobs are not are secure. That is a very wrong option over here. And the lives of the workers are on the wings of the employers, right? As to whatever the employers said, they have to work like that only, right? So here they are not quite secure, and workers are, of course, denied their share of profit. So here workers are exploited under the small producers and worker. They are exploited under the system of globalization, and there is nothing rosy about it, like in the option that has been given, right? So here your answer would be this. Your correct options would be this, that small manufacturers have been hit hard due to severe competition. Second one, that it had, of course, it had led to the widening of income inequality among the various countries. And yes, the E1, which is the expansion of the unorganized sectors, right? All right. So the A and D does not fit over here because these are not the benefits of globalization, right? Globalization have affected. So I hope you are able to mark this one, that B, C, and E, your second one is the right answer.